Oh, boy.
There we go.
Now we're live.
Okay. Welcome to the August 15th, 2022 meeting, of the Yarmouth Board of Health. First thing we need to do is take attendance, make sure we can have the meeting. Deborah, are you present?
Present.
Charlie, are you present?
Present.
Okay. Anyone at home there from the board? Mary, are you there?
No, she's not.
Mary Craig?
I don't see her logged in.
I don't either. Eric, I know, is not going to be here.
Mhm.
Did you hear from Mary or anyone?
Have
I
not.
did. He's not gonna be here. He got an email from him.
That she would be?
Eric, that he's not gonna
Eric,
be here.
yeah, I got that
No,
also.
not
but
Mary, not Mary.
I didn't hear from Mary.
She's usually pretty good checking in, so
Yeah.
that by now she should be checked in.
You want me to go home and come back later?
I just don't know if they're having trouble checking her in. Sometimes there's the IT, we got to make sure everybody can call in.
Works much better when they show up here.
Yeah, well,
I know that's a hard thing to ask for, but
But
you know.
it's a hybrid meeting, so different boards in town can have people at home. She's not on IT list, okay.
Not chatting or anything. No.
I'd say we just move forward.
Okay, let me just try her other number. We'll see. Not connecting. Okay, so let's start. Just an announcement that this is a hybrid participation meeting. And what that means is obviously people can come town hall or they can follow the meeting at home. And the way to do that would be to go on the town website, and there are instructions for the live stream on the YouTube channel, or you can certainly zoom in. And the link is there on the website. That's just housework. Okay, so public comment would be the first item here. Ooh, hey, we have a hand. That's great. So absolutely, please come up to the mic, introduce yourself, and we can start.
Hi, Lisa Grady, 415 Route 6A in Yarmouthport. And I know at the end of a very long agenda, you're going to be discussing 414 Route 6A. So I just wanted to have the opportunity to come before you and make a brief statement for the abutters, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thanks. I'm not used to having this off lately.
What was your name again? I'm sorry, I missed it. Did you get
Lisa
it?
Grady.
Oh, Miss Grady. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi, Bruce. So at the last board meeting, when asked if there was an update from the Barnstable Superior Court regarding 414 Route 6A in Yarmouthport, a board member stated this has gone on far too long. Yes, it has. This has gone on for 800 days. That's 800 days of the town allowing horses to be kept at the property that has no stable permit. 800 days of the town not enforcing the state laws or our own bylaws. 800 days since the owner was told that a stable permit is required before horses are introduced to a property. 800 days of manure and urine odor, 800 days for the owner to prove by a certified land survey that he can meet the setback requirements. And yet, we all know simply by looking at a recorded survey at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, it's obvious that the setbacks from the lot lines of this property do not allow room for a stable. No survey is going to change this math. During these 800 days, the town has maybe made a dozen visits to 414 Route 6A. Not once has the town reached out to any of the abutters. You've observed the horses are still there. Hay is being delivered on a weekly basis. this evening, there's a report included in your agenda here that's being submitted stating no odors exist. And I would suggest that whoever is visiting has a diminished sense of smell, as nothing has changed for the abutters. Our quality of life is still affected, but this is beside the point. The point being that the horses have been allowed to remain on the property for 800 days without the state or town required stable permit. Nowhere in this law does it equivocate and say, well, if they're trying, if they promise, if there's no odor, maybe they'll get their act together. On May 6th, over 90 days ago, the Board of Health, in denying the stable permit application, ordered that the horses be removed from 414 Route 6A within 5 days. On June 6th, over 60 days ago, at a subsequent Board of Health meeting, when it was learned that the horses had not been removed, the Board of Health charged Mr. Murphy with bringing this issue to Town Council, and you did. On June 30th, a suit was filed at Barnstable Superior Court with a hearing set for July 14th. On July 16th, an injunction was issued by Barnstable Superior Court that the horses were to be removed in 30 days if there was no stable permit granted. The owners were ordered to remove manure from the premises daily. We have asked if there's an application with the board. We have asked who's monitoring daily removal and not received an answer. It is now August 15th. The horses are still present at 414 Route 6A. It's time for a concrete plan of action, not kicking the can down the road for another 30 days. Unless and until there is a strict financial penalty for failure to comply, nothing will happen, just as nothing has happened in the past 800 days. And I would like to end too by saying thank you all for hanging in there with us too. Would you like a copy of this?
Yeah, I would. Thank you. You understand that the board's not going to address this right now. Hopefully you, if at home, can watch it or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Waste baskets on the left.
Anyone else from the public? This is the time to come forward.
Good.
Okay, let's, I guess not. Okay, second item here is the International Overdose Awareness Day, which is at Smugglers Beach, August 31st, 2022. And Director Murphy told me that Dawn was coming.
Hi.
Yes, welcome back.
Thank you. So annually,
Just for the record, just introduce yourself.
sure, my name is Dawn Roche. I've been a Yarmouth resident 26 years. I'm on the Yarmouth Substance Awareness Committee. I am on a board member of a nonprofit on the Cape called Parents Supporting Parents. I'm also a co-facilitator for Learn to Cope at the Yarmouth Police Station. I'm also, more importantly, a mother who lost a child to fentanyl here in town. So annually on August 31st, let me back up. I lost my son July 6th, 2018 from fentanyl. So annually, August 31st, internationally is Overdose Awareness Day. And back in 2019, a small group of us mothers gathered at Smugglers Beach just as a gathering to make awareness to this horrible disease. And I've been doing it ever since 2019. The first year I did it was 25 parents came together. The second year in 2020, which was COVID, I had about 65 parents together. Last year, I had about 150 to 200 people there, supported by the Yarmouth Police and also by Yarmouth Fire. This year, I am having it again. I did put the purple flags out on the town hall. This year, I'm supported by 4 or 5 police departments on the Cape. I will have 12 to 15 resource tables for different Cape organizations offering support, resources, hope. And also, there will be a very large attendance of parents who have lost their child or a loved one. So I ask everybody to bring a large photo of their loved one. They get a few minutes up near the boardwalk to say something about their child or their loved one. We do end it with a candlelight vigil. I am also going to be supported by the Barnstable Police are going to be bringing their hidden in plain sight trailer, which is a makeshift trailer transformed into a child's bedroom where you can find drugs and paraphernalia where they do hide it. So supported a lot by state representatives are on their way. The DA has came into this also, so they will be in attendance. So I just ask for your support and stop by and visit. Bruce will also be there with me, and I believe Jay will be there. So thank you.
Yeah, once again, I'm sorry for your loss, needless to
Thanks.
say, and it's just very impressive, the effort that you make each year.
Thank you. You know, a small group of us, for the first year after I lost my son, a small group of us went to the most local one to us, which was in Boston at the Commons. And then the following year, which was 19, I said, why are we traveling so far? There's such a huge epidemic on the Cape. So let's all do it here. So I took it upon myself to do it at Smugglers, and I'm going to continue as long as I can.
Now, someone who's had a loss can certainly come and not have to speak up in front of
Absolutely.
everyone. Not everyone would feel comfortable with that.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. And I do have a guest speaker coming, a gentleman who's at Off Cape. His name is Charles Eubanks King. He started using at age 5, and his parents are still active. So, yeah,
And just
lot of-
slowly for the people listening, exactly what do people do? What time? Where should they go? Is there a parking issue? Just tell so
So
people don't
it-
know about it.
okay. Wednesday, August 31st, 5:30 p.m., Smugglers Beach here in South Yarmouth. The parking lot should be pretty clear. I've never had a problem with the parking or anything like that. So I get there a little bit earlier and ask beachgoers to move out of the way a little bit just to kind of clear my way. But, you know, thankful that the town has offered to use the, space there. So
For sure. Okay, thank you again.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just say right now, just for the board, that Dawn, as she mentioned, Dawn's part of the Yarmouth Substance Awareness Committee that's been before us before. This is one of the big events that the Substance Committee works on each year, and Dawn spearheads the last several years, as you've heard. And it's an emotional night, and I hope people in attendance can come and, just to be there, I think, for support of others. But there is resource tables mentions that they're there. There'll be somebody from Duffy. There'll be several counselors if people want to talk to it. But, bring your loved ones there, bring people you'd like to remember. It's a great event at the beach. You'll see the purple out front of Town Hall. And I think, did you put them anywhere else? I know last
I
year.
did not. No, I put them there early into August, and I will remove them on the morning of the 31st and bring them to the beach with me.
Bring them to the beach. So it's a great event, and we hope to see people in the community, and the Yarmouth Substance Abuse Committee continues to work year round on addressing the substance abuse issues. And as we'll be going forward, as we receive money from the national and state opioid settlement, the committee will be looking at getting other programs out into the community.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Don, for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you.
Okay. Third item on the agenda is a hearing. It's retail tobacco violation, and it's Cape Cod Farms, 252 Route 28, West Yarmouth. And apparently there was a humidor not locked during inspection. And then this is the first offense, which does result in a fine. Director Murphy, you just want to tell us
Yes,
something
Um,
about this?
Yes. Do we have, which we're starting with, Mr. Chairman, we're starting with
Cape
Cape
Cod
Cod. Farm. Is
Farms.
there somebody from Cape Cod Farms? Yeah, we want to just go to the front table and we'll just mention just some general background. You have information in your packet that during a inspection by the County Health Department Tobacco Control program, they found a violation. You have their violation summary in your report of being a unlocked humidor. That would be considered self-service, which is a violation of the town tobacco regulations, which you have a copy of, that mention humidors and mentions the $300 fine. The violation was July 19th at 2:00 in the afternoon. I believe you have a copy of these reports also. I think at this time, we just want to hear what steps the owners will be taking to prevent this in the future. They have passed their last inspections. This is a new inspection. That's why it's a first offense.
Okay. Just the people at home, the humidor is a place where you can keep tobacco fresh, right? It's essentially has to do with maintaining moisture levels.
Correct. It's usually the cigars I think you keep in it, your specialty cigars.
Okay, so thanks for coming. Just to introduce yourselves for the record and explain what took place.
My name is Sahil Patel, and I work at 225 Route 28, and this is my uncle Becharbhai Patel. He's our owner, and we recently found out the lock was not working, so we just placed another lock on it. We didn't have an idea what happened, so we found out by an employee, like when you guys came and checked it. That's when we found out, so we placed another lock on it.
So there was a lock
There
and it
was a
wasn't
lock, but it
used, or there was no lock?
No, there was lock, but it was not working properly.
It
so
was
we-
broken.
Yeah.
Is that something you check on a regular basis, daily basis to make sure,
Not really. But
well, you will be now,
Yeah.
right? But you also want to make sure it's locked so people aren't just going in there and self-serving and,
yeah, we usually keep it locked. Like every time we have a key. Like we are supposed to go out and give it to them, but it was broken. So
just for the people at home, how big is your humidor and how many brands or how many do you have cigars in there mainly? Approximately.
it's about like 5 feet, and then we have like at least 4 to 5 shelves in there.
Okay.
Yep, and probably 6 to 7 brands in there.
6 to 7, okay. So you've replaced the lock, you have a new lock on it now?
We have
Okay.
a photo of it.
Manual lock.
We put a manual lock on it.
And how many employees do you have?
Right now we have 3 employees. They're more.
And do they receive information about
Yes, sir.
how to
We-
take care of this
Yeah,
and
we do give
locking?
them- Yep, we just recently gave them a training about it, and we have given them a key. We put a key on. our
Pull the
side.
microphone just a little closer to you or sit a little closer, one of the, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we just recently gave them a training, and we give them a key to open it and lock it up.
Deborah, any questions?
Yeah,
Charlie?
I just had one. So when someone wants something out of the case, the employee goes with a key and goes over and unlocks it,
Locks it.
but they obviously haven't been, right? Because they go over and they're just like, phew. The lock
No,
was broken?
Yeah, the lock was broken.
Right.
We do go and.
Did
do
you
it,
give
but-
them a key to go over to the broken lock?
Yeah,
Okay. And no one said, hey, the lock's broken?
no.
Okay.
So, but now, no, we don't give it to the customers. We.
No, I
use-
meant your employees. Like
yeah.
one of the employees didn't go over to the
Yeah.
door and be like, hey, something's up with
Yeah,
the lock.
they
No.
don't check it. They just.
Okay, but they're going to check it now.
They're going to check it right now.
And you're going to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
No, right now in a manual lock, in a small lock, different way.
Yeah, we put a manual lock on it now.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to have a key.
Yeah.
Charlie? Comments,
That's
questions?
the law, correct? By us or Massachusetts?
Yarmouth,
Whatever.
which is all the Cape, following, to pretty much all the Cape towns follow this standard tobacco regulations
I
in
just
this
have
particular
one more
part.
question. Sorry. Are you done,
go
Charlie?
right
I didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt. It also says on the violation that the humidor was unlocked and there was no local permit on site. They have a permit, I assume.
Yes, they have a permit. We
Okay.
don't necessarily require them to post it.
I wasn't
'cause
sure.
Sometimes people have
Yes.
so many permits that it's hard to post them.
No,
all.
it's cool. I wasn't.
It is
Clear.
posted right. It's right beside our stairs, so it's
Okay.
not visible. Like, but
Some of them are in different locations. Yes, yours are by the
That's cool.
stairs. I have
It
seen.
was
that.
asking for my own information really more than
we
anything.
do post all of the licenses on there.
I gotcha.
And have you paid the fine yet?
Not yet, but I'll make a check out tomorrow and I'll send it right away.
You can bring it in this week then. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Very good. That would be fine. They've taken further steps, but I think I'd just ask them, you take precautions on not selling flavored tobacco?
Yeah. yeah, we
And,
do.
and what steps do you take to make sure you're not selling flavored tobacco? You check, what steps do you do?
We usually don't order flavored tobacco. Like J-Pop usually doesn't send it to us. They're really good about it.
So you
Yeah.
tell them, make sure you don't, do you check it when it comes in to make sure that you get the right, what you ordered, what comes
Yes.
in?
We do check each and every item that comes in, and me and my uncle personally put in an order,
Okay.
so we know what we order and what we don't.
And that's a statewide regulations. There's no flavored tobacco, so it's just not Yarmouth. So
It's the
your representative should not be selling you flavored in Massachusetts at all. but you should just double check because we do hear from time to time, they slip in a promotional
Yeah.
that we have some other people here tonight that will be explaining that. So still double check, even though they can't sell in Massachusetts, double check that that doesn't put you in a serious violation.
It does happen. The second offense is $400. It's a lot of money for you.
Yeah, and the fees are going to be going up for violations on that statewide. Good,
Okay.
Thanks for coming in then.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
see you later in the week then.
Okay, moving along. Once again, we have another hearing. It's a retail tobacco violation. Gulf Express. It's located at 14 East Main Street in West Yarmouth. And there was a sale of flavored tobacco, and this is a first offense. Director Murphy, anything else we need to know?
Yes, I'll just give the, a little background also. I think you have probably the violation is again on July 19th in the afternoon, flavored tobacco was sold. And this one's still a flavored, even though it's called Game Blue and Mild Jazz. As we know, they've changed a lot of names from flavored to colors, songs, or whatever. But we know this particular one is a flavored tobacco because this is one of the ones we had gone to court to determine several years ago that it was flavored. And I would say we do have Bob Collette from the county tobacco control program that is able to come in if we have any questions. So I appreciate you, Bob, listening. So that's the background, and we do have, I believe, what, the store manager?
I'm the owner of the store,
Oh,
Richard Now.
okay.
Pretty much, hi, my name is Richard Now. I'm the owner at 16 East Main Street, the Gulf Express. Similar to what he was actually explaining earlier is what happened. It was a mispick from our distributor, excuse me. And honestly, it was a mistake that it would end up being put up because it, like you said, it was branded as a different thing. So my employees weren't 100% aware. That responsibility lies on me. So since then, I've trained them up, posted all the regulations that were supposed to be posted, and and I'm going to take much further care on making sure something like that doesn't happen again, because it is not allowed, of course.
Deborah, Charlie.
No,
Do you talk to your supplier? I mean, they shouldn't
Yeah,
even be supplying it
they
to you
were gonna
because it's not allowed in Massachusetts.
Exactly,
So
it was
they
a-
should know that to
It
begin
was
with.
a mispick. So pretty much it's when it's labeled something when they sell it, but we receive a different item.
But they should know. They shouldn't be selling
100%.
it, you know.
I had them write me up a letter, and I just didn't get it in time, just saying that
Yeah.
pretty much that it was their mistake, but it's my mistake for putting it up, of course.
Somebody in the warehouse just. picked
Just-
the
I
They
wrong-
sent it to you.
Exactly,
And I
exactly.
think that's what's happened at times. If the manager isn't, or the owner isn't there, you get an employee, they see the shipment comes in, they think they're helping you, they put it up on the store, they don't know.
Exactly.
But it's really
My responsibility. I know.
it's your responsibility, but it's their responsibility not to sell it to you because they know what the state law is. So I don't know, they should be helping you with the fine.
It's all right. It's something that we're just going to try to move past for and do better in the future. That's all.
Okay, so $300 fine.
Brought a check. I don't know if I can give it to you guys
Yes, you
now.
can, you can submit that.
Deborah, you want to take it?
Sure.
I just have not made it out.
Oh, to Tony Yarmouth.
Okay, I missed it. Good pickup. Okay.
What was that?
Bob's hands
Bob,
up.
Bob's hand is up. Bob.
Wants to
Colette?
speak.
Yes.
No.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just for a point of correction here, this wasn't an illegal sale that took place. It's the fact that we found the flavored products during the inspection process, and there were the two of them, Jazz, which you are intimately familiar with, and also a Game Blue, which is a vanilla flavored product. These are prohibited by not only by the town, of course, as you were the first town to prohibit the sale of flavored products, but also by the state of Massachusetts. And the state law prevails in this case relative to the penalty phase. And you need to fine $1,000 in this case. Unfortunately, there's no room for variance under the state law.
That hasn't been addressed by the board right now. It's something we will be doing. So right now, we're following our current regulations. I have checked with several other towns on the Cape of, what steps they're going forward with.
Mhm.
We will be going in that direction as we're moving forward with some other towns, but as I mentioned earlier, that we're looking at our current regulations.
Okay, but the state law is already in place and it has been for 2 years, over 2 years now. And it takes precedence over the local regulation by virtue of being a stronger law.
We can bring this up to the next meeting if you want to discuss it.
Yeah, we can discuss it at another meeting, that's for sure. Like I've
Sure.
talked to the towns and everybody's looking at revising all their regulations and including the state law. So as I mentioned at the other hearing, that the fines would be being increased.
Right. Well, I appreciate this being brought up. So let's put it on the agenda then. And we'll get educated for the next meeting. Okay.
What's that?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you
Yeah,
very
do you
much.
check while you're here, also checking
Yes,
IDs,
of course,
making,
yes,
because
yes,
I know
yes.
we did age 21 also.
Yes,
So make sure that
Of
all your
course.
employees are checking for IDs.
will do.
Good.
Thank you, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you.
Okay, so we have one more. It's another hearing, retail tobacco violation. Becker's Liquors at 55 Route 28 West Yarmouth. And the issue is the sale of flavored tobacco. It's a first offense, which results in a fine.
Person is here.
Okay, Director Murphy, anything? Won't you just have a seat there? Anything? wanna
Again,
say?
this was the same date of July 19th by the Barnstable County Tobacco Control, Bob Collette, who we hear on the phone, flavored product, enhanced. It was a Game Blue, and I think within your packet, besides having the violation, you also have a picture of the Game Blue, which calls it vanilla.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we had more information on this one that was provided to us.
Okay, so just introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Muhammad Shahid Hamid, and I'm also manager and the owner for the store.
Okay, maybe you could just tell us what took place, what happened.
I think it was a distributor sent it in, and my employees, one of the employees, he just put it in, and I didn't even look at it, and he did 1 or 2 weeks. It was at the shelf, and that's what happened. And I did not check the list, and because it was right next to the Dutch Palmer, but those are no flavor, but I didn't even see it, and that was there, and I didn't check it.
Did you talk to your sales representative? Because they should not be selling them. I think that's the bigger question.
I did talk to him, but I don't know how they was sent it in, and I didn't receive any letter from them, but I think it was in the box, and my employees just put it in. I usually check it, and I don't order them any cigars. I mean, I have like a few cigars always, but I just didn't check it. So when his inspector was here, so I would see it, and I said, "Oh, it's a bill." I was removed the same time.
When you get the invoice for the cigars, the tobacco coming in, does it say what it was? It was different. Did it say flavored or?
I had a distributor. The guy came in. He sold it at the same time. It was not a regular, the guy, the cigarette guys. But sometime the summertime, a lot of distributor guys comes in and sold it, and that's what happened.
Well, they should know because they shouldn't be selling it anywhere in Massachusetts. So it's disappointing that some of the tobacco salesmen are selling flavored tobacco, which is not allowed.
Yeah.
How many did you have?
I was having one box.
Just one box?
Yeah, I just took it away for the box.
And I think
Yeah,
this is,
I didn't know the blue wasn't flavored too. Also, I didn't even check the list. But I guess I gotta make sure when his delivery comes in, not to put it away.
I wouldn't rely on any list. I think you need to read it, unfortunately.
Yes,
And
yes.
The font
Yes.
could be pretty small.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's why I'm sorry. It's totally my mistake. It was on the shelf.
And some of them don't even say it on the small font. But hopefully, this issue of salesmen selling flavored tobacco in Massachusetts was not allowed. Hopefully the Bob from the county can bring this up when they have their regional meetings, and maybe the state can take actions against salesmen that are selling improper license within the state.
Right, because it's really hurting our businesses here.
Correct. It seems like there should be state action on this. If they're selling, breaking a state law, it seems like it should be more than the local town seems like it should be the State Department of Public Health doing their inspections of large salesmen. So we'll pass that along. Maybe Bob, I don't know if you can comment that, anything that you mentioned at your regional meetings or something the state could look at?
Well, there has been discussion about it, and it's been a concern of mine since the state went completely flavor free, because there are no repercussions for the distributors for selling these products to the local retailers. And, I do understand that the retailers are at the end of the line here. So you have the manufacturers who really don't care about them and what they're going to sell. And then the distributors are in the same position. They're out to make as much money as they can. And then the retailers are at the end of the line. So it's incumbent upon them, and the possession or the granting of a local permit to sell tobacco in Yarmouth comes with the great responsibility of knowing what's legal and what's not. So I always advise the retailers to check with the board or to call me if you have a question about any particular products that you would like to sell. So, we have had plenty of discussions on the state level about how to deal with this distributors, but it's a very complicated matter. You have the Department of Revenue, and you have us, and the distributors are right there in the middle, and there's no way to control what they do. So there are some people that are thinking about ways to work with them to make sure that this doesn't happen. So, the thing is, the distributors don't just distribute to Massachusetts. They might go New England wide. And so I think there are a lot of errors that are made on their part. And I don't think they're very meticulous about sending the correct products to the retailers at that level. So that unfortunately falls completely on the backs of the retailers at this point in time. So they need to know if they're selling this stuff at the retail level, then they need to know or be sure that the products that they're selling are legal.
Thank you. Yeah, if you don't recognize the package, and it's not on the invoice, leave it in the back and make a phone call to the health department, or to the county.
Thank you.
Right.
This doesn't happen to you again. It's $300.
Try my best. Yeah, thank you.
So you have your check right
Payment's
there.
been made?
Did I see
It's gonna
that?
be made now. Deborah?
Yeah.
You have that?
These ones?
I did.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Okay, let's change themes here a little bit. This is the 6th item on the agenda, if anyone's interested, and it's a discussion and decision on 185 Seaview Avenue in South Yarmouth. This requires a vote, and the issue on hand is raise and replace house, use existing septic system is what it's saying here on the agenda. Director Murphy, could you just introduce us to what we're looking at? Thank you.
Yes, you have 3 applications that Karen Healy from BSC will be presenting. The first 2 are houses that are going to be renovated, raised and replaced. And they're going to be using the same system they put in several years ago, Title V systems, 4 feet above groundwater that we've approved and allowed in. The question is that we've had the discussion, these have probably been going on probably about 4 months back and forth, was if they're taking down the house and putting a new house up, should they put a new septic system in at the time? Or can they use the existing system that was granted to be 4 feet above groundwater to 5 by an in-house variance and noted on the plan? I think the letter that you have in your packet that we see up on the screen here to read, and Mr. Healy, BSC, will expand on that, that Title V, the state regulations, does not require or classify a raise and replace as new construction. They say as long as you're not adding any new flow, you're not adding new bedrooms, you don't have to upgrade the system. When we review the engineered plans in the office and approve them, we put a stamp on the plan. I think we can show that quickly, then we can come back to your presentation that we've approved the plan with some variances, but it's approved. This allows us to look at it should the property come in for a permit at a later date. It allows us to look at it to see if we still feel that the variances that were granted are reasonable. State Title V, again, allows, as long as there's no increase in flow, allows that. How often are we seeing this now? We're seeing it a little bit more with houses being raised and replaced, old houses being replaced, small cottages, being larger. A lot of them automatically put a new septic system in because they have an old tidal cesspool. The addition maybe be going where the septic system is, so they have to do it. There's only been these two here in a number of years that want to use the old system because they have to build in the exact same place in the footprint to fit it in. So that's their request to do that. And I think I'll come back with other comments, but I think I'll turn this over to the engineer for his perspective. I think he outlines for both of them in his cover letter.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Kieran
Hold
Healy.
that a little closer to you there, Mike, there. Thank you.
I'm a land surveyor with the BSC Group representing the owner of the property at number 185. As Bruce had mentioned, there's a few different things going on here. The number one being is that the definition of new construction with the state Title V. And it's hard to imagine that if you knock a house down and you remove it completely, that's not new construction. New construction is solely, by definition, if you're adding flow, adding a bedroom, adding an apartment, adding something else. In this particular case, the current house is 3 bedrooms and the proposed house is 3 bedrooms. We're looking just to leave the septic system was approved. It's a fully approved Title V septic system with the variance for the groundwater separation of 4 feet instead of 5 feet. Currently, the system is mounted in the backyard. I'm not sure if you've been able to go to the property or not, but the system is currently mounted in the backyard. If the system were replaced, the mound would have to be 1.5 feet higher than it is today. So what we're looking to do is to maintain the location of that existing septic system. The construction of the new house, and as Bruce mentioned, you're seeing more of these, or Bruce is seeing more of these, is primarily because of the 2014 change to the flood zone. When that change happened, a lot more houses in South Yarmouth and West Yarmouth came into flood zone regulations. With flood zone regulations, we have to lift the houses to comply. This particular house on 185 Seaview Avenue is going to be 6 feet higher to comply with the flood zone regulations. So as a result, there's no chance of, effluent leaching back towards a basement or anything like that. There is no basement. It's a crawl space above, basically at the bottom of the existing grade. So the goal for us is just to leave the septic system as it is. Now, when we talk about the 4 foot to the 5 foot separation, there have been many studies up at the testing center at Otis Air Force Base that show that the majority of anything in the system is being cleaned in that first 2 feet. I believe the number is 96 to 98%, and Bruce can confirm that. In that first 2 feet, it's been cleansed, if you will, to the best of its ability. Once you go beyond 2 feet, that extra 1 and 2 and 3% will slowly go through the sand and will get into the groundwater. So the difference between 4 feet and 5 feet, you're not really catching anything that you haven't already caught in that first 2 feet. It just takes a little bit longer to get into the groundwater. The other thing is that when my client purchased this property in 2015, I believe. When the septic system was put in 2014, it was a Title V septic system that, yes, he did get variances, right? But in his mind, it was an approved Title V septic system. The location of this house is not creating any new variance. It's not creating any change to the septic system. It's just purely the fact that a variance was granted in 2014 to allow the system to be 4 feet above the groundwater as opposed to 5 feet. And Title V specifically allows that a system can be installed 4 feet above the groundwater instead of 5. It's specifically, in section 15.404, maximum feasible compliance, approvals for upgrades. And in there, it specifically says a minimum of 4 feet of a minimum of 4 feet of separation between the bottom of the soil absorption system and the high groundwater elevation shall be provided. You're not allowed to go any lower than 4 feet. And so that is allowed per Title V. So with those two things being, first of all, you're allowed to do it by have the 4 feet by Title V, and that new construction is not a raise and replace of a house. New construction is only when you're proposing additional flow. We're looking to allow the system to remain as it is. I mean, a new system like this is a substantial amount of money. It's going to be somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 to install the septic system. So my owners are looking to just keep what's there, that's being approved, that's being allowed. It is 3 bedrooms, and we're proposing 3 bedrooms. I guess if you could, Eric, bring back that stamp. One of the concerns that Bruce had was this particular stamp that is put on all the plans to get variances. And when I read this and I say, okay, if we do something on a project that has this stamp, we need to go either see Bruce or we need to go talk to the board. But it doesn't say we need to put in a new system. It just says we need to open up a dialogue with the board or with Bruce to be sure that everybody knows what's going on and that he can confirm that we're not adding any new variances. And that's the way I take this particular stamp, is to be clear that we're not generating additional issues. Even though it's a new house, in this particular case, it's going in exactly the same footprint. So we're not generating any new variances to be required. And based on that, my clients, myself, would like to allow the system just to remain as it is. It is a pumped septic system. It would have to be, if it was replaced, the pumps would have to be.
Sorry, what replaced?
It is a pumped septic
Yes.
system that's there. So if it was replaced, the pump would have to be checked. The whole leaching area would have to be excavated, dug out, and a new septic system put in. So based on that, we're asking the board to allow them to waiver their policy. And I think that the policy is questionable, because when you read this note, is the policy saying that every new system has to be replaced? And does every system need to be replaced if a new house is installed? Or does it just say a dialogue has to be with Bruce to confirm that there's no new variances requested? And that's the way I've always taken this particular note. And in this particular case, there is no new variances requested by the installation of and construction of this new house.
Okay, thank you.
Bruce, what is this makes perfect sense to me, because they're not adding bedrooms, they're not doing anything but raising a house. Correct?
They're taking the house down, putting a new house up, correct?
Well, it's the same
Correct.
size house, 3 bedroom.
Correct,
Okay, so it's not an expansion.
correct.
Okay.
Well, they are adding some square footage to it because they are going up. They're going to put a second floor on, but they're keeping the same number of bedrooms, which, do you have floor plans, or did we look at floor plans earlier?
We did look at floor plans. I don't have them with me tonight, but it's a 3-bedroom house.
So-
There is no offices or dens or places that could be considered bedrooms.
There's no extra flow. It's the same
And
bedrooms.
Both these houses have Title V systems, correct?
Correct,
Yes.
Correct.
with a variance from 5 to 4 feet.
So-
Correct.
Bruce, what's the past practice?
What's the
Like,
problem?
what, has this happened in the past?
Uh,
Hasn't happened while I've been on the board. to my
No,
knowledge.
That's what I'm saying. That's why this is here. That's because it's
Right.
new. The past practice has been when somebody's come in for a raise and replace, it's been cesspools, so they've had to upgrade.
They've been older.
They've put an addition on of an extra bedroom, so they had to upgrade. the addition was going to be over their septic area. If they had a Title V system, it was over their area. So they had to relocate it. So they had to upgrade. So this is really the first two that we've had in a number of years that we can even think of that want to use the same system. The house is going to be in the same spot because they can't move it because of zoning and setback lines. And they want to use the same septic system that was put in with variances that we approved.
I guess my other question was, and just this little piece here. So if the building was prior to 95, as long as it's been in existence since 95 and earlier, it's considered not new construction if you raise and replace it? Is that
That's
how I?
correct. That's correct.
But if it was after 95, then it would be considered new construction?
Yes.
Okay, how old's the house?
Oh, it was built in, I think, 60s.
But the septic system went in 214.
No, I understand, but that's,
Erica, can you go to, I think we have what the mounted system looks like. That's where it is. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. This is the backyard. You can see it's kind of mounded up. Excuse me. It's just for board members and people at home. You can see where it's already mounded up, and then the person straight across to the north also has a mounted system, which you can see their green yard, but you can see it mounted up. Currently, right now, this is 4 feet above groundwater. Go ahead. We have a couple photos showing this area. This is just the front of the house that they wish to take down. It's on a block foundation, and they're going to go straight up with it. They will be higher than the houses on either side. But I don't believe the front grading, they'll have to do their own grading to keep the property.
Correct, yeah. We've been to both zoning board of appeals and conservation very strong about how they wanted us to capture any runoff or water.
So
from
you've
their
been
point
to
of view.
them and you have their approval.
We do have
conservation.
we do have an order of conditions for conservation, and we do have a special permit from the zoning board.
Okay, so this is the front that they'll be raising. I think we have other pictures of the slope in the back. So you can see it sloping up from the back of the house towards the back. You can see the cover, the green cover that shows over the septic pump area. So this just gives you an idea of it's approximately 2.5 feet above ground. I want to say this is sloped off. I think we have a couple more photos just to give a feel of, this is standing in the back corner looking back, so you get an idea that it's sloped up. Probably the same height to the person to the north that you see there, but the house will be, going 2 stories, same number of bedrooms. Okay. That's just one area of it. Okay. And I know you board members might have looked at it, but I just wanted to show this for the people at what we're looking at. So this is really the first time we've looked at it. Since Jay's been here too, we looked at it and it was a little different. We discussed the note. We were talking that we may be requiring a new septic system to be installed. And at that time, Karen from BSC Engineering said, we really want to try to use our same system that was previously approved. And we'd just like to come and talk to the board and yourself on this. Feeling that it meets the current Title V regulations of no new septic flow.
And also the fact that it was only installed in 2014.
you say it's only 8 years old.
So it's,
Well, when this was passed, what were the variances that were granted?
there was a variance granted for 4 feet to groundwater. Actually, they're written on the plan by the other engineer. And one more.
Too hard to read, yeah.
Right there. So maximum, no reserve area is provided, even though no reserve area is required on a repair of an existing system. So I wouldn't have asked for that particular form of relief because Title V says you don't need it. And then the other one is that the pump and the tanks to the north side of the property, I believe they're 7 or 8 feet from the property line as opposed to 10 feet from the property line. But they are subsurface, so everything is.
And what was the last thing you said?
The tank and the pump chamber are between 7 and 8 feet from the property line as opposed to 10.
What about setbacks on this?
No, it was fully compliant. It did have 10 feet of setback all the way around. So the system did meet the setbacks. There was no problems there. The groundwater is high, but there was no wetlands or anything else close to it. The only reason we went for the Conservation Commission is because it's in a flood zone. which means the house has to be elevated.
You know, one issue, I haven't seen one either. We're on the board, and what happens when someone comes in front of the board and needing variances? One thing we pay a lot of attention to is floor plan of a house. And I'm surprised we're not looking at it. Essentially, we're granting the variances again, kind of, in some ways that, and we don't know what's going to be built. Yes, apparently it's 3 bedrooms, but we always are looking at floor plans to see what's being built. I'm surprised the owner hasn't provided that.
I did have those plans. I did go through them with Bruce and Jay, and there was no question that it was a 3-bedroom house. And, you know, as this was a policy matter and not a variance matter, after discussions with Bruce, I felt that the house, that wasn't an issue, shall we say. The issue was the groundwater, that there was no question as to the fact that this was a 3-bedroom home.
I would agree to that. We did look at the floor plans and it was a true 3-bedroom. Hindsight, we should have probably included them in the packet,
What's the problem?
but we can check that. But we had looked at that and
Oh.
it was a true 3-bed. It was a true 3-bedroom.
Okay, so.
The other issue, which we had talked about for the meeting, is just, and this is kind of relevant to what you said, is we don't really have guidelines of what to do about this. If apparently there are more coming, I agree with whoever's building this. It makes sense to put a new house up. You can call it that on the property. I went to see it. Yeah, it'd make a lot of sense, just quality of life and just in the investment for sure. You're saying that we may be seeing more of these, that people are leveling the houses and it's less expensive and you have a brand new house. I'm struggling with, I don't know what to follow a little bit. So everyone's getting treated equally or the same of following something. So we're not picking and choosing what gets granted, what doesn't. That's what I'm struggling with right now.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I think there's a few things that are different, shall we say, now than ones that I've come in the past on. And one is, this is a Title V septic system. As Bruce mentioned, a lot of what we had was cesspools and things like that before.
Right.
So it made perfect sense to bring it, to make it Title V. The second thing about this is that we're not creating any new variants. So when you talk about, you know, I don't see it as precedent setting, because you're not giving, should we say, or not allowing anything that's creating something additional. We're not looking for new flow or additional flow. We're not looking for any new variants or additional variants. So in my mind, the note that was up there saying this has to be reviewed by the Board of Health or by the Board of Health Director, then that makes perfect sense. Just to confirm, we're not triggering either additional flow or additional variances.
Right. I mean, what's impressive to me is it's getting passed on to the Board of Health. In other words, it as opposed to just ending at the health department, there's something here that's requiring us to look at it and not just the health department. I'm not sure we look at every case that's where there's being a change to a house.
Well, in my mind, we shouldn't be here. In my mind, this is Title V allows this to happen. It's because of the stamp that was on the plan that says it needs to be reviewed. That's the only reason we're here. Title V would say, go forward, you don't need to be in this room. But because that stamp is on the plan, it needs to be reviewed by the Board of Health Director or by the board itself, just to be sure, again, in my mind, that we're not increasing flow and that we're not increasing variances.
I don't see a problem with this.
Okay.
Give me a call when you want to make a decision on that.
Well, we got two to make a decision on tonight, and plus we need you for a quorum, Charlie.
What did he say? He was looking that way and not at me. I asked him what was up. What did he say?
I
Did you hear? Because he was over
I-
there by then.
don't know.
You don't know either.
Said,
Call
me
him when
when
we're
we
ready to
make
make
a
a decision.
decision.
I don't know if that meant he's leaving or.
Erica, that's not your job. Okay? You look after yourself. Okay? I don't know what's happening here. So it's just,
Did he go all the way? I can't see behind.
He went up the steps first.
well, give him a chance. Maybe he had some urgency or something. So
Oh, Mary's here.
Oh, thank God.
That's true.
Sorry, I was at the RAC meeting and I just got through with it. I wanted to stay because they were talking about some Board of Health issues.
Right.
Did you catch the last few minutes of the meeting?
The whole
I
presentation.
I did.
When did you come to the meeting?
6:29.
Okay, so you, I guess, did not hear the presentation discussion on this particular case.
No, but I've read the material and I tend to agree with Karen that it doesn't, there's no variance being requested. I didn't hear what Bruce had to say about it in terms of the director of the health department's opinion.
You want me just kind of, just to kind of go over, we haven't seen many of these come in. Anybody that's doing the raise and replace, you've usually had to replace the whole system because it was an old cesspool. They were adding septic flow or they're in the area. This is one of the new ones that we're just seeing that people are raise and replace because maybe the house is in the floodplain. They have to put a whole new house up and they want to use their existing system that we have approved with some past variances, but there's no new variances and the system is 4 feet above groundwater. So since this is the first we have it, we do have a note on the plan that you saw that we approved the last plan that came in, and this gives us an opportunity when somebody comes in again to look at the engineered plan to make sure they're still within the same parameters that we issued the first repair. In this particular case, there's no increase in flow. It's in the same location. We just showed areas of how it's been graded. So because this was new and we're discussing it, we just wanted to bring it to the board to let them know we can carry forward with a policy that as long as they're not adding any new septic flow, which is what the engineer is saying, which is allowed under Title V, or is this something the board may be wishing to look at the future? But if they're not adding flow, that's really the key to this. I think that's the general. Do you want to say anything, Karen, just so she can
I just
up to
like to
date?
confirm that if we were creating a new variance or if we were adding flow,
Right.
I would not be looking to maintain the septic system because that would fall under the description of new flow, additional flow, which is new construction, which means this would not be allowed under Title V without further relief. So that's what's unusual about this is it's a Title V septic system. We're not changing the flow. We're not changing the variances.
No, that's very clear.
Right. Yeah.
Just for the record, we had a member who left at 6:32. Let's just have that in the minutes, okay? Thank you.
And a new member came in at
6:29.
Yeah.
6:29.
29 is what you said, right, Mary?
Yes, correct.
So we do have a quorum.
Nice transition. About 48 seconds, maybe we didn't, but I'm okay with that.
I can make a motion.
By all means.
Okay. I move we approve the request to allow the existing Title V system to remain at 185 Seaview Avenue, South Yarmouth, Massachusetts, while raising and replacing the existing dwelling.
Second.
Second, okay, any discussion? My discussion is basically, once again, is voting on it without seeing what's being built. I have a problem with that. Since I've been on the board, we've looked at flood plans to know what is being built to see whether or not we're okay with it for septic systems that are being built. So that's my problem with it. So
We'll double check that. We do have them in the file. You can bring them in again.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
Thank you.
okay.
Vote.
We still have to
So
vote.
let's vote, definitely. So all in favor, we're going to go one at a time. Deborah, just
Aye.
aye. Mary?
Aye.
Aye. That's me, and I'm against. Okay, so it's 2-1. It certainly passes. And good for your team. That's great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I just concerned about the reason you don't have floor plans is because it's a policy decision. It's not a variance request. So I understand you don't have the floor plan, and I apologize for that. But we're not looking to discuss the floor plan. We're looking to discuss the policy. So as we go forward to the next one, I would just hope that, that's something that you might consider, is that the floor plans have to be vetted by Bruce and Jay before they go anywhere as far as getting a permit. So I guess just if you would keep in.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, but the way it's set up now with this example, it falls upon us. It's us to make the decision, and without that material, I didn't feel comfortable. Obviously, the majority feels comfortable with it, which is fine. I just have to spend all the years here always looking at floor plans and seeing, hey, so my concern is if I'm okaying something, I don't know what's being built over there, then I have a problem with that. That's all.
Thank you. I always strive for a unanimous vote by the time I'm done. So that's why that's my goal.
I can appreciate that, but you got,
not
majority
doing it
works.
tonight.
Majority works.
Tonight.
Okay, everyone take a deep breath and we'll move along here. Okay, let me get the paperwork in order. Okay, so it looks like we're going to number 7 here, which is a discussion and decision. This is a 108 Breezy Point Road, South Yarmouth, and this is to raise and replace a house. And as was the case before, it's the use of existing septic system. So Director Murphy, just want to introduce us to this.
Yes, very similar to the one that we just had before us. They wish to use their current system, Title V, that was put in 4 feet above groundwater, raise, replace the house, no extra flow, remaining 3 bedrooms. They have a raised septic system in front of their house right now, a tank and a leach pit and, leach field. We have a stamp on the plan, allows us to look at it again, same discussion. And I think we can go to the photos right now. Karen, if I'll just jump in. This one is a little vegetated in front. We can see it's the house basically in the middle. This is standing at the street. You can see the raised system in front of them. The house to the left does have 2 floors on it. It sits a little lower, but it has 2 floors. I think we have a couple pictures that we could look at. You can see the house to the left is the property that we're looking at. The house to the right is their retaining wall that goes to the house to the right. They have a mounded system to the right-hand side, 4 feet above groundwater. You can see the applicant on the left-hand side with the walkway going up. They have a 4-foot system in the front there in a vault area above groundwater. They wish to raise and replace the house to also go 2 floors. I think we have a couple other photos that show that a little bit better. The raised system in front of the house, again, the system will not change. The house will be in the same location. We do have wetlands in back, and on this particular one, there is wetlands in back. And I'm not sure if we have that distance what it was to wetlands in back, but that's not going to change the house or the septic location. Do we have one more, or was that, nope, go back to that one right there then. You can leave it right there then. So kind of the same information. It's in a floodplain. They have to go to, I believe, Conservation and Board of Appeals also.
Correct. On this one, we had started the first one before we had our discussion with Bruce. So before I went to the other boards on this one, I wanted to be sure that the Board of Health were okay with us going forward in the manner that we're proposing. This is, again, for the record, my name is Kieran Healy. I'm a land surveyor with the BSC Group, representing the owner of the property, Mr. Hamill. This is extremely similar to the previous one. So similar that I left the street address of the previous one on this one.
Oh, I was okay. That was me.
It's circled.
Yeah, that's how similar it is. That's right.
That's how similar it is. I apologize for that. The only thing is that in this case, there is a wetland at the back. The septic system was installed and approved back in, I think this one was right around 2000. It is an older system. It was a Title V system, though. It was completely approved by the conservation, by the board at that time. Again, we're dealing with the same stamp that's on the plan saying that if anything changes or any modifications are proposed, it's got to come back in front of the board. In this particular case, we are not increasing flow and we are not adding any variances. And I could go on, but I think it's exactly the same as the previous one. I'd be glad to answer any questions the board has.
Hey, Mary, Deborah?
So this system is a lot older than the last one we just talked about.
Correct. Yes, it is older. It is, but it is a Title V system,
Minor.
and it was seasonally used, so it really didn't have a lot of use over the last 20 years.
Sure. And is it the one, is that there? I know.
On the left,
Show
yes.
that I'm pointing to the hydrangea. And and their septic is where? Show me with the little hand.
The mount just behind, directly behind the light pole,
Oh, okay.
light post,
Okay.
that area right there.
I was confused with seeing the house on the right.
Right.
The one on the right is the neighboring property.
And you can see that right behind the lower right, you see the top of the concrete
I see
wall
it now, yeah.
going all the way down.
Yeah, I know. For some reason,
It's kind of over Erica's shoulder.
the retaining wall.
I'm kidding, you're fine.
It's okay. I got it.
But again, it does have 4 feet of separation.
When we do something like this, does it, like if someone sells a house, you have to have it inspected, right?
Yes.
So does this need to be inspected?
Same owner. I
Same
believe.
owner, so it doesn't matter?
Is this a new owner or is this?
No, it's the same owner since I think we did the work back in 1998. We started working for him on this project. So
I guess why I'm asking is like an 8-year-old septic compared to one that's 23 years old is a little different to me.
if the board was so inclined, my client would have no problem producing or getting a Title V inspection report completed for it, just to show that it's in perfectly good working order.
I think that I would be comfortable with that. Just, it's a huge difference, 8 and 23 years.
Yep, I
And all
agree.
Changed.
Do you have floor plans on this one, tentative?
Tentative, but this one I haven't showed you. I haven't had a chance because I stopped everybody on everything till we could have this policy discussion.
What were the variances that were granted for the system to be built 23 years ago?
Well, first of all, the 4 feet instead of 5 feet
Sure.
of groundwater, and then
Right.
the side setbacks. But again, those would not change. That, one is there was a number of local upgrade approval required on the bottom, and the distance to the wetlands at the rear was one. The sidelines were the other. You can see how the system is kind of tucked up to the northeast corner. So we don't have 10 feet off of the property lines on this. But if a new system went in, it'd literally be dig out the old system, raise it a foot, and put it back in exactly the same place. We would have no choice but to keep the leaching area where it is. And the good thing about both of these systems is that they're both 100% capacity. They're not reduced in size. They're both full-sized leaching areas.
Is that system is farther away, is the furthest away it can be from wetland? I think it's right up abutting the street.
It is. You can see both the northeast and the north side are touching, the wall is touching the street layout. So it can't go any further away from the wetlands.
Do you know what the distance to wetland is on this plan right here? Did it show what the variance was?
I believe it was 70 feet. If you don't mind, let me just have a quick look on the screen here.
Because the leaching field seems equal distance, Bruce, from the property lines to the street visually. I mean, here, I don't see the numbers.
We have 5 feet here,
okay.
and we have 6 feet to the outside.
Yeah.
So 5 feet to the wall.
You want to hold the microphone, people at home that are anxiously following us.
Well, I am.
Yep. Right here, we have 5 feet. and
That's
right
to
here-
lot, that's to lot 43?
No, that's to the street.
To the street is 5 or 6 feet, okay.
Yeah.
thanks.
And then on the right-hand side to the wall, we have 6 feet to the property line,
Right.
5 feet to the inside wall.
And the wetlands to the rear.
The wetlands are 70 feet
From where to where? To what point?
from this point
From the
to
corner of the property, of the house rather, or where?
from this point right here to this point right there.
That corner of the leaching field is 70 feet that you're pointing?
Yes. from
Yes,
there.
okay. So the variance granted was 30 feet there, is that what it was?
Right. That was the furthest that the system could be relocated from there with a couple reasonable variances off the front and the side property line.
And that have distance changed in the last 23 years? The leaching field didn't move, but the wetlands could have, I suppose.
The wetlands could have, yes. The wetlands are only valid for 3 years. So if something is older than 3 years, we have to reflag it. So we have redelineated the wetlands. By the looks of the plan, it is extremely similar to what was there. There are obviously the wetlands. There's the bordering vegetated wetlands, there's the coastal banks, then there was also the flood zone. Those are all resource areas that need to be approved by Conservation Commission. So the coastal bank definition would bring the wetland closer to the house than was there in 2000 when we did the plan. So that would have changed a little bit, but that's purely by definition. That's not by any physical change. What happened was in 2014, when they raised the flood zones in the area and brought all those new houses, brought out the additional properties into the flood zone, by doing so, a coastal bank was created more inland than most previously in the area. Again, just by definition, the coastal bank obviously didn't move, but there's two different definitions for coastal banks. One is below a flood zone, one is above a flood zone.
Yes.
And because the flood zone moved, then the definition of that location moved. So in this particular case, the coastal bank would now be a bit closer to the house than what was previously approved, which is a resource area. The wetlands, if you will call it that, the bordering vegetated wetland,
Yes.
is still pretty much in the same location that it was back then.
So there's no requirement to resurvey the land then?
Well, we have a fully new survey.
An updated one with those distances?
Yeah, we'll
yes?
have those
Okay.
distances on there when we finally submit to both conservation and this board. Like, as I say, we were here for policy as opposed to a final plan
Okay,
to go through.
thank you. Mary, Deborah?
My only,
Question?
my
Yeah.
only concern was that the system is 23 years old and 8 years, 23. I mean, we have no guidance, there's, I don't know. I just feel like there should be some sort of inspection on
Could be,
On one
it
that-
could be conditioned, subject to a past inspection. I mean, we have a lot of, especially seasonal houses, the systems last a long time. There's good soil here, there's sandy soil. But that can be inspected. I mean, we see a lot of inspections that come in on a regular basis that Erica keeps track of. I mean, we probably do 600 a year, so we do see a lot of past inspections.
Is this still going to be a seasonal house?
The owner is getting older and is looking to spend more time here. So I wouldn't like to say it's going to be a seasonal home. He does have a home in another location, but he does plan on spending more time on the Cape as he gets towards retirement age.
I don't think we can assume that for the next 23 more years that that'll be the case of who's living there. But yeah, once again, I still have the same issue of not knowing what's being built. And the other is just, it's getting complicated for me. There are variables, some similar, but a little different from the previous case we had. And I suppose there'll be others. And I'm having trouble not having some guidelines to follow. I just want to make sure we are addressing everyone the same. The next time you're coming in front of us, that we're doing the same thing or following something. That's my struggle with it.
Do you have floor plans yet, what they're proposing?
There have been preliminary floor plans
Preliminary.
prepared, yes.
The plan that you submitted here, which is that the one up front now? I think that's the old one. The one that you're submitting for tonight, which is
Correct. The one on the screen is,
The June 23rd plan, it doesn't have a stamp on it, just shows the existing conditions. If you go back, that one right here, it's labeled, the current system, it says existing 3-bedroom system, which is correct, right?
Yes.
But it also says the middle of the house, is it a 2-bedroom house?
the system was designed for 3-bedroom. The approval was for 3 bedrooms when it was done.
Okay.
There was a question about one of the rooms in there, whether it was a bedroom or not. So at that particular time, we said, let's put in 3 bedrooms.
Put a
So there's
3-bedroom
no
in.
question. So the design flow for the original system was 3 bedrooms.
So you would need to submit clear house plans that show 3 bedrooms, which you'll need, and a Title V inspection report possibly.
That's perfect. As I say, my client would be more than happy to submit a Title V inspection report.
So someone want to make a motion? Any other questions? Why don't we do that?
I'm not sure how I would make it. I know what I wanted to say, though. I mean, we can't, I don't want to approve anything until we see a Title V inspection. And so I'm not sure how to word it, but
You can bring
Um,
it back to the full board
Yeah.
or defer it to the health department to review.
In
Based
other words,
on-
we could pass it
Yeah.
and just say with,
Based on,
go ahead,
Hi,
Mary.
Mary.
just say based on the approval by the health department of the 3-bedroom floor plan and the
Title V.
update Title V system inspection.
Right.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, Deborah.
You said it so well. I'll second that, Mary.
Well, Mary excels at this.
That she does.
Yes, she does. So any other discussion? I don't see that there's any. So let's vote. Deborah,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
nay. So it's 2-1 passes. Okay. And just get that information to Bruce. That'd be great.
Will do.
What I would, let's add to the next meeting's agenda of talking about some guidelines. So the next house that comes, it's going to be leveled and putting a new house. What are we looking at, and that we're addressing them the same? So let's put that on the agenda, and hopefully you can educate at least me and probably the whole board. So
Yes.
we're doing this correctly.
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, thanks for coming in. So we got one more for you.
He's got
I
one
bet.
more.
Let's go.
He's
You
not
want to do another one?
Yay.
Why don't we move over to,
I haven't been here in 5 years, and I'm here twice in a month.
you're making up for it.
I knew
Okay.
you looked familiar.
Why don't we do something on Route 28 anyway? So, what's up next here? Here we go. Number 8 on the agenda is discussion/decision. 1313 Route 28 South Yarmouth. That's for a vote. It's proposed restaurant commercial redevelopment, 2,000-gallon flow regulation and IA system. Bruce.
Yes.
Hello.
What we have here is, go back one step, please. No, to the site plan right here, correct. What we have is the redevelopment at 1313 Route 28. Used to be an auto parts store in there. The auto parts store is moving out, and they wish to put a 40-seat restaurant. They are putting in a full Title V septic system that meets 5 feet above groundwater, meets all the setbacks. What we have for the board to just consider tonight is, because the lot has more than 2,000 gallon flow, they have to put an IA alternative system in to lower the nitrogen. They meet all the other requirements, I believe. I don't believe there's any variances. Karen? Okay. So their request is, as you'll hear, the request is not to put the IA in to lower the nitrogen, because and you'll be able to share some more light on this, Mary, also, is the town will be sewering Route 28. We're going to town meeting this spring. We'll be finalizing the budget before the selectmen to go forward in December. The wastewater committee met today. You might have some more update, Mary, but the first area to be sewered is Route 28. And that's where all the commercial businesses that would be tying in and then building up into the treatment plant that they would be building. The question of where they're going to start sewering 28, whether it'll be on the Dennis end or the Barnstable in, or possibly in the middle, and there might be a couple sections going on at the same time because it might be more than one contract issued. But the thought was not to put the IA in if sewers are going to be going by within 2 years, that for the cost to put sewers in and the operation, the IA for the sewer in here, that they would request to withhold putting the IA in. I think that's the cover letter from BSC. So I'll put that over here, and you do have a map that shows where the sewer line is, that we can pass that out. So everybody's in town. This is one the sewer committee uses. No, I'll put it right. I'll put it, I don't know if they can zoom in front of the desk here. If not, I can put it.
Why they put it in front of me?
Oh,
It has to go a little higher.
I'm looking at the camera. Oh, there we go. Oh, right across. They got it. Yeah. Hard to zoom in, but the town's divided into 8 phases right now by the sewer committee, planning committee. And first phase is most important through Route 28 corridor. And they plan to go forward with that at town meeting. I know we've been talking about that for a number of years.
Decades, I believe.
Decades, we should say decades, but yes, we are going forward as first phase. So I don't know if there's anything, Mary, that I did include in the packet for the board from the schedule of design, building, and construction that they're going forward with. And you can see some of this is already notice to proceed, and they're starting with design construction right now. And I did put that in the board so you can see that it's a little firmer going forward this decade. That some of the design has already been completed to almost 30 to 40% complete under design already. So that's both at the Route 28 sewering and the treatment plant. So you have that up on the screen right now to look at. So in fact, we do have some firm numbers on that. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Mary, from your meeting with the wastewater committee today?
No, just that, as you said, the phase 1 is what is going to go to the town meeting in the spring of 23. And that's necessary for the sewer system. And of course, the first phase of the actual sewering. So, but I guess the one thing that, the dates are the plan dates. They're not in stone. So, the dates for the completion of the various contracts are what people are hoping and planning to happen. But this first phase has to be approved in spring of 23, or we won't be doing sewering. So, it's critical.
But they're doing design construction right now to proceed?
Yes,
The town has already approved design construction money, I believe.
yes,
So it's
But-
in the design.
yes,
construction,
for the
but-
design money, yes, the design, yep,
But not necessarily the implementation.
right,
Yes, additional money is
right.
needed.
I got it.
Right.
It's being approved at town meeting in stages. Design
yes.
construction for the sewers, design construction for the treatment plant, and they're
Right.
going forward. And then they're hoping to build it in phases, in that each phase as it goes forward will come to town meeting for construction approval money.
Right.
The 8 phases right now aren't set in stone 100% either. They're looking at what other areas that might get tied in, whether that's around Lewis Bay, or it might be around some of the ponds or well-filled areas. So they're still fine tuning that. We'll be talking about cyanobacteria later on. Should some of the ponds have that? That's one step of a couple steps to prevent cyanobacteria, not the only step. Obviously, we need to protect our well fields and our embayment shellfish areas. So I think the committee's still studying that over the next several months. Is that a good recap on that, Mary?
I think so, yeah. I mean, basically phases 1, 2, and 3, West Yarmouth, are going to come first. But again, like I said, the phase one has to be approved at the town meeting for the sewering to actually be constructed and put in place.
Okay.
And that's for your grandchildren or their grandchildren?
The other point is, while we're talking about this, you know, we talked about land use control and all. I think we're going to see more of these types of requests coming forward, but from people who are facing having to upgrade perhaps, or even replace, and they're along the lines of where the new sewering is going to be placed, and they will be asking to be allowed to keep their old system in place because the sewering is coming. And that's something that's going to have to come from the Board of Health in terms of regulations, you know, how much time people will have to put the sewering in place. And if it's a brand new system recently, you know, will they be allowed a little bit of extra time? So I think it's going to start to get more complicated when we're looking at these kinds of issues that this particular case is presenting.
And we can look at that as a board, a previous board, number of years ago. I'm trying to stick with years instead of decades, but a number of years ago, basically said if you put a septic system in, and I'm going to just pick a date, within 2 years, you would get 5 years before you had to hook into sewers. So you didn't have to hook in right away if you put a new system in.
But there's a couple of issues, and that is we have to have a certain amount of flow, and we have been told that we have to take care of the nitrogen. So yeah, there's
not, when you look at the dates where the sewer line is going through, the number of people that haven't put a system in within 5 years, I think would probably cover what you need going through. But that's one area that the board needs to look at again for sure.
Interesting, yeah.
Karen, do you want to just go over the plan a little bit?
Ins and outs of this one. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members. For the record, my name again is Kieran Healy. I'm a land surveyor with the BSC Group, representing the owners of 1313 Route 28. We're looking to put in a 40-seat restaurant. The septic system that we are proposing is a fully compliant Title V septic system. This is purely, the relief we're looking for is purely a local Board of Health policy. The septic system is fully sized, and there is a reserve area also fully sized. We're proposing a grease trap, a septic tank, a 2-compartment septic tank, and we're also pressure dosing the septic system, which equalizes the flow throughout the entire leaching field, so it doesn't start on one end and work its way down. Each time it gets pressurized, every inch of the pipe gets full, and then it leaches down to the ground. So it's a better way of distributing the effluent. We are looking for one variance. It has nothing to do with why we're here, but we are looking for one variance, and that is the tank is going to be 4 feet under the ground as opposed to 3 feet under the ground. Title V says we need to have 3 feet, but because the bathrooms are in the back of this building, we need to basically cut a line through the concrete floor to bring them forward. And when they exit the building, they're more than 3 feet below the grade. It doesn't affect why we're here, but we do have that one variance that is allowed under by Title V, as long as we put in H20 risers and H20 tank, all of the structurally more solid components to a septic system, which we're doing. But the main reason we're here is because of the IA system. The IA system is required because it's a policy by the town of Yarmouth. Again, it's not required by Title V. The septic system we're proposing is fully compliant in that regard. Based on the possibility of sewer, and I do believe it's moving quicker now than it has in decades. I do remember working on something in 1987 where we discussed the sewer. So I'm fully aware of, and I've lived all my life here in Massachusetts and in Yarmouth since I moved to America. But the sewer is definitely being ongoing. But we've seen, because there are different players in the mix looking to make this happen, that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. An IA system is a very expensive add-on to a commercial property like this. basically it's somewhere between $29,000 and $40,000. That's besides the grease trap, the pump chamber, the leaching field, all of those components. So it's a very expensive add-on to get the additional treatment. We're also always concerned about them when we have grease before them, because grease, as much as you use a grease trap to capture as much grease as you can, some will get through. And I don't know how great an IA system is when some grease might get in there. Plus, with sewer potentially going in the street, all of this would be disregarded. If the board was inclined to approve tonight, you could approve it subject to when the sewer does become available, that we don't look for the 5 or 10 years or whatever might be available that other people might get because they have a new septic system in there without this particular policy review, and that we would be willing to tie into the sewer the minute it becomes available at this property. Again, all I can say is that it's a fully compliant Title V septic system. It's purely the town's policy about septic systems that are over 2,000 gallons on a particular site. This one itself is not 2,000 gallons, but there are other businesses in the facility that on the property, which would push it over the 2,000 gallons. This one by itself is 1,400 gallons. I'll now be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning about hooking up in a timely fashion that way. It's appreciate your mentioning that. Tell me something about grease traps, just to educate the board of what happens with grease. How does a restaurant get rid of it? Where it's going? Just give us a quick overview of that.
And the size of the.
When you have a restaurant, you got kitchen waste and you got bathroom waste. The bathroom waste goes out to a septic tank in your typical form. The grease has a separate line that goes into a separate tank. In that tank, you're looking to get the grease to cool down, and so that the only thing leaving that is the water that's on the bottom. The way the T's are set up inside the tank, if in a perfect system, the only thing that's coming out is water as opposed to the grease. The grease floats to the top, and the restaurant will have a company on call on a regular basis every 6 months, every 9 months, depending on their particular use, to take the grease out and pump the grease out. It's brought to a separate facility. Then I'm actually not sure how it's brought into the Yarmouth waste, or if it even goes in that manner. But it's supposed to be in a different system and a different tank because it doesn't break down like regular solid liquid waste. From that tank, it then goes into the septic tank. Then it settles with the septic, regular solids and liquids. And from that tank, in this particular case, it's going out to a pump system that will pressure dose the lines and push that out. So the tank that's required is a 1,000-gallon tank. We're proposing a 2,000-gallon tank to give it that little bit extra time to settle down and cool. An undersized grease tank will fail your septic system very quickly because the grease will get out quicker. So we always try and make it bigger than what's required by the requirements, by Title V requirements, just to give that grease a chance to cool down, because if it cools down, it coagulates and it floats to the top and it can be pumped easier.
So when it leaves the premises, initially, the human waste as well as the grease goes through the same pipe.
No. A completely separate pipe to the septic tank. What happens is it goes right from the building, the sewage waste goes right into a tank. The kitchen waste goes into a tank that's a grease trap, and then that goes into the same septic tank.
So whatever wasted, it's the wrong term, whatever water's in the dishwasher or the sinks that are in the kitchen and not in the bathrooms, all that water and all the grease that goes with that water into the sink or dishwasher, that goes into towards the grease trap.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Now I got it.
You're looking for the grease to coagulate.
Yeah, sure.
And for that water, the dishwasher water to get out.
Appreciate that.
What's the timeline for them opening?
They're ready to start. This is the last, shall we say, big hole that they're looking to.
Is it going to be year round or seasonal?
Year round.
Can you tell us anything about the cuisine?
No. I actually don't have a clue about the cuisine.
I didn't ask because I didn't think you would know.
But that can affect the grease collection.
It most definitely could, yes, but what I've said is, you need a 1,000-gallon tank. We're proposing a 2,000-gallon tank, so it'll, it should be well more than the minimum.
Is this system set up so when sewers go by, that it's stubbed out to go in, or what's the plan for that?
Well, the way it's set up right now is both the kitchen and the bathrooms are at the rear of the building, but we're digging down that concrete floor to bring the flow all the way out to the front. So you'll see the small tank, the 2,000-gallon tank, and you'll see the 4-inch PVC for the septic waste. Those both come out to the front of the building. So those can be connected with a Y and then brought out to the main in the street.
Would they be stubbing anything in now, or just do it when the sewer line goes through, replumb it or resewer it?
They do it at the time the sewer goes through because the tanks would become obsolete. So those tanks would be where you'd put in a Y. It wouldn't make, there's no way to join them together now because you want to have them separated now. I mean, literally you could leave the grease trap in place and connect that grease trap to the tank and then have the tank go out to the, typically with sewer, you don't back the solids like you do in a regular septic system. You want all of it to go into the sewer system. So it would just be combined in a Y and brought out to the main in the street.
It would bypass the tanks, right? Like if it were
The
to be
tanks would become
sewer.
obsolete if there was sewer.
Right, so they would just go wouldn't go through them anymore, would go around them or they'd be taken out or something.
Taken out, probably.
Okay.
Taken out.
This is all new to me, so I want to make sure I understand it.
Abandoned in some form.
Anyone? Bruce, it looks like you're about to say something.
Well, I was going to say two things to put the board at ease. One is, I think your comment that one of the conditions would be, when sewer goes through, it must be hooked up within whatever the time frame we're putting out to most people, 6 months or something like that. And I guess two, to put you at ease, that should sewers not go through, you can retrofit an IA system in here that if sewers didn't go through within 5 years, they would have to come back to the board to discuss possible retrofitting.
Is that true? You could retrofit?
Yes,
in
you could
IA?
literally take out the tank that's there, that's proposed, because it is a 4,500-gallon tank. It's a sizable tank. And generally, IA tanks are smaller in size than your regular septic tank because of what the tank does. It needs to be more confined. So yes, it is possible. And, in 5 years' time, if we get approval, coming back in front of this board, and in the off chance that it takes 7 years to get the sewer, by then we'll know exactly the date that the sewer should be going through in front of the property.
And that condition, both conditions would be noted on their food service permit also. So we can track it. As a suggestion, Mr. Chairman.
Mary, how are you doing there?
I'm okay. You want me to make a motion?
I
Sure.
believe so.
Okay. I move that we grant the request by BSC Group Incorporated that a conventional Title V system with pressure dosing be allowed for the project without the implementation of IA technology as soon as the sewer is available for hookup. It happened for that property. And if it has not happened within 5 years from this date, that BSC comes back to the board to discuss possible retrofitting an IA system.
Sounds good to me. Bruce,
I'll second
Jane,
that.
sounds, yeah, we have a second here. Okay, any other discussion? I see there
Mr.
none,
Chairman.
so let's vote on it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one thing.
Anytime.
I'm sorry to interrupt in the middle of a vote.
We're good.
But just to follow on from what Mary said about coming back to this board in 5 years' time to consider retrofitting, maybe we could add, or to discuss sewer potentially coming down a year or 2 years. In the event that it is 7 years out and we're, 2 years off.
I think that'd be that would be the discussion you would have with the board.
Right, right. That would be part of the discussion.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be part of the discussion. Obviously, the board would be, if they're digging somewhere on 28, that's one thing versus
And you'll come
Right.
back in 2 years. Don't worry about it.
It's been 5 years since I was in.
5 years you've got.
Yeah.
Jay,
That
We'll
is-
talk again.
we'll
Yeah.
talk again.
Okay. Deborah, you want to vote on this? What's your vote?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
I'm aye, so it's unanimous. Okay, fine. 3-0.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
it.
Chairman.
We
Thank you,
good?
members.
I
Thank
love
you,
the idea of a
Bruce,
new
Jay,
restaurant coming
Erica.
to town.
Thanks for coming in and all the explanations. I mean, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you like. If I were you, but
Fine.
okay, let's move on. We have an update. It's on the El Mariachi Restaurant, 416 Route 28 in West Yarmouth, and has to do with the food service consultant inspection that falls upon Director Murphy, I think, or
All right. Yes, we have an update from the Food Health Inspector, Phil Renault. You have in your packet an email or update memo, August 10th. As you remember, the board issued conditions in El Marache based on non-cleanliness of the kitchen. The board required a food consultant to go in and do inspections for a 6-month period. So we wanted to show the board the dates that you have before you that inspections have been conducted. Some of the inspections I have forwarded to the chairman and vice chairman. There are lengthy reports that wouldn't be included now. They're probably at least 10 pages, I want to say, Jay. Does that sound about right? At least 10 pages, color pages going over, very detailed. So I kept the chairman and the vice chair informed of the visits, but wanted to update the board that they're on a regular basis now. And they've been going, at one time they were going every week, then they dropped down to every 2 weeks, and they'll be going forward, and they've made very good progress right off the start. The restaurant's working very cooperative with the food consultant. The consultant reports are very detailed and concise. They're seeing a lot of progress was made earlier. The food service is doing much better in the location. They will be continuing, but Phil did do a walkthrough. He hasn't done a full inspection, but that's planned by the end of the month that Phil will be in there doing his own inspection also. So that's just an update to the board of where this has been.
thank you.
I was
Mary,
gonna say, I
Deborah?
didn't, in the packet, I didn't see what any of the results are, but you
Yeah.
guys sound like you saw
It's-
them.
It's just a summary of the dates for inspections, but there's really nothing about the results. You're right, Deborah. It's just a one-page memo that really doesn't tell you a whole lot.
And that's why we thought we would just explain it, because like I said, each report's, we can put it in for the next packet if that's what the board wishes,
Just
but
give us a link to it,
Yeah.
just so we can read it, that's all.
Or
It's
whether
just a
it was
summary,
mail or
summary anyway.
somebody
Yeah.
oh, they all passed.
curious.
No, they all passed, but
Maybe we can just pop that on there next time.
we can send when Phil's on vacation this week, but when he comes back, he can forward each of the reports in a file to all of you.
Yeah, we'll just, the link, so we can all look at it, that's all.
Okay.
But yes, we did get it. Hillard and I did get the full report, so they are lengthy, but even a summary would be good by Phil.
But it looked good from what we, at least from my
Right.
point of view, Mary.
Yeah, I thought, I just kept hoping the consultant was very strict because they were, she definitely did the good points and then some points that still needed correcting, but by and large, they seem very positive.
Okay. Number 10 here, it's an update 414 Route 6A in Yarmouthport. And this is the Barnstable Court decision letter horse stable application. This was the item that someone in started with the meeting, one of the neighbors there had talked about it a little bit.
Jay's been following this one. I'll let Jay give the background.
Sure. I don't, is this, am I on here?
Doesn't.
Do you have to press your
No.
mic in front here?
These are lit up, if that helps.
I think that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tonight's meeting did open with one of the neighbors concerned with the length of time that this has taken to gain compliance for what is admittedly an unlicensed and unpermitted stable up on 414-6A. But it's within the purview of the board. The board hasn't approved or denied anything. It hasn't had a permit to act on. And that's been the frustration. In my short tenure here, there have been unexpected delays where the property has been on the market, has been listed for sale. That delayed it for over a month. I'm not making excuses. It's just the reality and the expectations for compliance for this board. It put things on pause. You can't go any further. I think the neighbor talked about a lawsuit was filed. It was not. It was a complaint. A complaint, an injunction has been ordered. That's the highest level that this board can go in front to the court. And on Friday, when that expires in 30 days, it will then go back to the court again. That's the highest level. And not to mitigate their frustration, I understand the quality of life issues that they perceive it to be. I was the one who did those inspections. I've been there, I think, the email that I sent probably six times.
The board has your email of,
Right.
let's see, Friday, August 12th. You gave the board an
How
email.
many, but I believe it's been 6 times I've been there.
Yeah,
And
you-
some of those times were in the height, 90-degree weather. And when I got out of that car, I walked along 6A, I did not smell it. Now, when I was in the barn, I did, of course. But there was no accumulation of manure. I never saw anyone there. On 2 occasions, I left my card. Unfortunately, I haven't heard from the owner. I don't know the status or his intention. The horses are most definitely still there, but the property is being maintained. Now, I don't know if the board is ever going to gain a completed application that may require some variances. We don't know. You just don't have that information right now, but it's being monitored. Like I say, on Friday, the injunction order will expire. I would assume then Bruce will bring that to, and I'm sure he will, to town council, and it will be put back in again as a violation. That now actually it's in contempt now of an injunction. I don't know what the outcome will be, and I don't even know the length of time. It took 3 weeks to get a hearing date in court. You don't control any of that, and it adds to the 800-day frustration that the abutters already have.
Right.
I fully understand that. Could this have been, done quicker? I think the board and this office, although in my short time, they've tried to work with the owners, but there have been some disruptions there and some delays, not mitigating the neighbors' concern and anxiety. I understand it is progressing within your purview. There's nothing more that you can do. The board did order them 5 days removed, but really all that is a certified letter that went out.
Right.
Nothing more. It's a certified letter. This happens this can happen. If people do not comply within the legal process, you are limited to what you can do. And you've done everything you can do right now. I hope this comes to a conclusion. Whether it's the horses are removed, I don't know what the judge would say next. Or maybe you have an application in front of you that you can act on to either approve or deny. And even in that, if you deny a permit, not sure how that would go. It really falls to the owner. They know full well. We know them. I was hoping when I leave my business card on their back door, I've yet to get a phone call. It's in direct violation of a preliminary injunction. That's the status right now, but it is being maintained. There's not complete negligence. I don't live next to it, so I don't live, but it was not it is being properly maintained of daily removal of the manure, that I can assure, and that the horses are there.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. On the order on the motion for preliminary injunction, number 2, where there is something in parentheses added. Was that added by the court?
That was, we didn't adjust that. That came to us electronically. So that's written in by the court. And are you referring to, Mary, it might have been that we were responsible for monitoring?
No, it says the defendant shall remove all horses from the property within 30 days of this order, parentheses, if the defendant's application request is denied, close parentheses.
Right.
This
We
part
didn't-
down bottom,
right.
at the bottom, is printed, not,
Accurate.
it's not part of the typed.
Right. The
Okay,
court-
so the court put that in. Okay,
The court did. We did not add, or nor would we,
right. Right.
edit an
Right.
injunction.
But I get it. So my point is, there's been no application submitted. So it seems to me the 30 days stands.
Without question.
Yeah.
Without question. And that'll be the
By
19th.
August 19th, yeah. If there's no application in, then it's a moot point.
Right. I
Okay.
think the only course of action, you have seen an email of somewhat of it's not a contract, but a
Right,
conversation with Coastal Surveying to actually do a plot
Right.
plan. There's no timeline, there's no contract, there's
Right,
nothing
right.
definitive in that.
Right. Okay, so, yep, I saw the horses today.
You know, I didn't get there today. The most recently was Friday. And
But they are there today. They are there.
so it's not what the board wants to hear, but that quite frankly, this falls in the owner, and I have every indication to think that this will be going back to town council and working its way through the legal system again.
Right, I agree.
I mean, the board has no, it's not like we can go and win a truck and go get the horse. Like, that's just not what we do.
And that's and I do understand, Bruce and I both get emails from
Yeah.
about it.
And
and
I understand their frustrations. I mean, they're going
Yeah.
on almost
Yeah.
3 years
Sure.
with this, and I hope they understand that we're doing the best we can and, trying to get it done.
within the rights of the board
Within
and the
our
process.
purview.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I was at court with town council when council presented this, a month ago. So he presented the case that I think, you saw the draft that was submitted. He presented that. I provided some testimony. The owner was there and they mentioned that they were having difficulty trying to find alternative housing. And the judge took everything under advisement and then issued this court order several days later. So as Jay noted, we'll do the inspection when the order is up, and then we'll notify town council to take further legal steps on behalf of the Board of Health.
Okay, thank you. Ever anything, Mary?
Nope, nothing else.
I'm sure it's frustrating, but if in the meantime, before the next board, we wouldn't wait for the next board meeting. We will keep the board informed as this progresses. If we do get some progress before the next meeting, in any direction, and whether it's an application or removal or a court
Right.
order.
Is there any way we can communicate that to the abutters? Like, if we get some information from the court or the judge before a meeting, like before a public meeting?
The Grady's have stayed in touch with us by email, and they were the one that, matter of fact, noticed the judge had posted the order before we even had heard back from town council. So they're monitoring it closely.
And they're the ones that hired the attorney, correct?
Correct.
Bruce? Yeah.
Correct.
Well, hopefully the butters are watching the meeting. Okay, so they're helping out, actually. Good. Well, we're in double digits. We continue here. Number 11, update beach water quality testing, and this has to do with the salt, freshwater testing, and cyanobacteria.
Yes, and just an update on the board on the cyanobacteria algae that we've seen in some of the beaches last year. You have, if we can go to the, Erica, the list of all the beaches that we test I don't know if, I think it should have been right at the beginning, maybe. No, right.
It's towards the end.
That one. All right.
Says it's
Whoa,
page
there we go.
55.
I know, there we go.
Um,
So, right now on a weekly basis, the public beaches that the Board of Health oversees, there's 29 saltwater beaches that you have right up there. And then there's six freshwater beaches that are tested weekly for bacteria. They're collected by the County Health Department, I think on Monday or Tuesdays. We get the results. They've all been fine. We've had one saltwater Melfell Road that we've had to monitor a little closely. However, there's really no runoff. It's just a road off of down past the hospital by Bayview Beach. So right away to water. There's only 2 houses. There's no really beach and there's no parking lot. So why that's getting a little high at times, we're not sure, because there's no point of activity that would cause that. We have walked the area. Myself and Jay have walked the area. Like we said, there's no septic or anything close by, so we don't know if it's boat action that's going back and forth or fish action. So they're tested on a weekly basis. Then we go down to the freshwaters that are the 6 freshwaters: Dennis Pond, Flax Pond, where we have a camp. Dennis Pond, I believe they're still doing swimming lessons. We have Hoss Pond, Little Sandy, and then 2 areas on Long Pond at Indian Memorial Beach and Lyman Lane. So they're tested on a regular basis. And the cyanobacteria is tested by Association Preservation of Cape Cod, testing the ponds along with Camp Greeno. So right now, we have not had any cyanobacteria detected. I think if we go to, we can go to the letter of APC. Hard to read up there. It just tells you that they're doing the testing, and should they find something, it would go to the, oh, you're going right by everything. You're too quick right there. You can leave it right. Oh, no. Yeah. If something is found, it would go to the County Health Department Water Quality for additional testing from the APC, because they don't have a state certified lab. This is kind of like a first review where they're assisting towns. They're doing it. We do not have a contract with them to do it. Each town is a little different, so they're just saying they wanted to continue some testing from last year, which they're welcome. We said at this time we weren't going to go forward with a full contract with the amount of money they were looking for. Plus, there's no State Department of Public Health standard for cyanobacteria. Regular swimming bacteria, we know when we have to close it. Cyanobacteria is still being under review by DPH, so there's no, when they find something, it's only an advisory for a posting. So that's the difficulty of it. Right now, when they're doing their testing, it comes back in different areas. I think if you go one slide before this, Erica, it'll say, accept the range. Well, maybe not. Maybe it goes the other way. There you go. So it has the 3 categories they look at: acceptable, potential concern, and then restrictive, which warrants a posting. So we have not reached that in any of the areas right now, that we would even have to take a second test to the county laboratory. And that's just for cyanobacteria, which is an algae bloom that the algae is always in the ponds. It's just a matter of when it's going to increase. What we saw last year as the weather got warmer, which we are now in August, we did see a bloom in Long Pond and Indian Memorial, and we had to post it last year because of an algae bloom. But it's not one that you might be thinking about at home, because there was no bloom that you could notice. There was no sheen. There's no green or blue sheen. We walked down to the pond. You could see 40, 50 feet out. So That's one area that you can see when you see other papers or other ponds on the Cape. It's really a heavy algae. We did not have that. So where does the algae get? The algae increases from road runoff, dog waste on the side. A lot of it's people that have lawns that go right down to the pond, and their fertilizer with a heavy rain goes right into the pond. So that's a concern. Corrective measures. There's not one that will do it. We talked about sewering earlier. Just because you sewer around a pond doesn't mean that you're taking all the nutrients out of it, because that's still going to get in from lawn education that will be needed. Road runoff around Long Pond is pretty much been corrected. Then we still have geese and waterfowl that need to be addressed where people are feeding them. So there's several areas that need to be done. But the rest of the ponds and the swimming area bacteria wise is fine, and the salt water is fine. Like I said, we test it weekly, and it should be up on either our website or the county website. I know it's been up and down a couple times. So with a couple more pictures, we can just show you what the sign is if we do have to post it. The warning sign that we put up, it's just a warning. It's an advisory. Each town is a little bit different. This is the one that we post last year. Children and pets have the greatest risk. Small children's avoiding contact, keeping pets away, because pets become sick or, seriously ill from drinking the water. And that's happened in a couple other towns, Cape towns, that have had issues. When we had to close the Long Pond area last year, I did have to have parents talk to parents and educate parents about bringing their children out of the water. One of the houses next to one of the areas we test had several dogs that I had to talk to the people about not letting their dogs in. I talked to another house that had very young children playing in the water that I said, you really can't be playing. So there's still a lot of education that needs to go out there. The Cape health directors have formed a kind of a subcommittee of working with cyanobacteria across the Cape, hoping to get more testing equipment at the county lab so they can do it with a state certified lab next year. I mentioned that, I think, when we had our Board of Health or an update with the selectmen. I mentioned that that's some of the money they could use with the $40 million they're looking at COVID money to spend at the county, that could be some of the money they put for testing. Of course, if they do pick it up, there's no state, as I mentioned, criteria standard. So the state's still working on what they would have to have for a standard. So it's advisories right now. So we're working on that. We'll post that if needed. Several towns have already posted or closed ponds on the Cape for the summer already, even in July. So we're just monitoring our ponds. What we see next is one of the issues. Keep going. Look right there. People feeding the ducks, and a lot of ducks right at the pond, causing one, bacteria concerns that we have for our regular posting, but also adding to the cyanobacteria. This is one of the days I had to go down and tell the people we had to close it to swimming, and it's a hot day. And, and in the meantime, they're feeding the ducks. The kids are playing and feeding the ducks. So it's education, even though there's sign, no feeding of ducks.
This was last year?
This is last year.
Oh, okay.
But it could be any day this year.
No, I got you.
And this is Long Pond in Memorial Beach. So that's the update on the pond testing, the weekly pond testing, and where we sit with cyanobacteria. You can leave it on that slide for a second, because we might have a little discussion before we get to the next.
I was just making a point. I think there's a town meeting in Orleans. They're voting on whether to ban non-farming fertilizing.
That's okay, Erica. You can leave it. I know you're going into your COVID next. That's fine. Yes, I think Orleans is, I think you see a few towns doing it. Mashpee just had a presentation by DNR, Department of Natural Resources, to their selectmen on the health or quality of ponds. So I think you have different town agencies in different towns updating pond water quality.
From reading, it looked like a lot of the emphasis is on phosphorus and not nitrogen. That's causing a lot of the problems in the ponds. I didn't. know
Correct.
that.
Phosphorus is another one. That's a lot of it, even though the laundries have taken out phosphorus from the laundries, it still gets through lawn fertilizations.
Yeah. Okay,
Good.
good. Thank you.
I'll turn this over to Jay, the COVID update. Your name's right there on front, Connor.
Okay. All right. So it's the COVID update. It's probably been monthly for you folks for well over 2 years now, but not to be alarming, but to raise awareness. We're probably less than a month now for school to be back in, and for parents, teachers, students to be aware. There is some good news. Our positivity rate in the town of Yarmouth has dropped, but let's just walk through this quickly. Active, so positive cases 18. You can see the numbers are dropping. Go right. Let me just walk through this. Here we saw in May, going back where there had been a spike. I think the board at that point, at that meeting, actually issued a mask advisory, if you can remember. That still is in place today. A good reminder that when you're indoors in close contact, that and with maybe if certain conditions are compromised, that a mask would be appropriate. Protective measures. We see the numbers now dropping. June and July have leveled off somewhat. This is just giving you a longitudinal kind of look at where things are. Go ahead. As you can see, as I said at the last meeting, our positivity, our population, actually, Bruce and I really don't know where this came from, but somehow our population has gone up to over 25. At the last meeting, we were over 11.5, and we're at 9.65 positivity rate. So there's been a downward adjustment there in a positive direction. And again, fully vaccinated, again, with our numbers, Yarmouth at 77% being fully vaccinated as the population, again, artificially increased. Our percentage went down, and fully vaccinated, you can see where we are in relation to the other Cape towns. Okay. And boosted, same numbers, a small downward adjustment. And we continue on electronic signs and any opportunity that we can we try to, again, promote vaccinations and boosting. And you can see it here as we compare across. This is as of months and across the other communities. Positivity 8.65 again. 9.65 again, I apologize. Numbers are accumulated and collated across Massachusetts. So this we pull these numbers from a number of different sources from the State Department of Public Health. Always letting people know that certainly vaccinations are still available. County Health Department vaccines Wednesdays 10 to 2. 2 to 4 children, welcome. All that is still available, and people are still coming in and using them. I think the next slide, you'll see they're at the local pharmacies, or Cape Cod Health at the hospital. That's still another site for vaccinations. CVS, Stop and Shop, Walgreens, they're all right there to continue vaccinations. Urgent Care Center by appointment. No, that's it. Test kits. Fortunately, through Bruce's leadership, 4,300 cases came in, take-home test kits. Those numbers are really admittedly underreported, as you know, through the people are testing at home now, and rightfully so. We understand that's convenient, and they do the self-isolating on their own, and that's the important piece. But in May, about 4,300 cases came, but 4,230 came in. Bruce sent those up to the senior center some stickers had to be put on because of the expiration dates. So it's a little bit of logistics to that, to making sure that those then came back again. And those have been distributed at the senior center, all of the libraries, the farmers market. Help me here, Bruce, the town hall, both at our department and upstairs at the clerk and the treasurer's office. Like I said, senior center, where else, Bruce? But the senior center was very helpful in putting stickers on for us. We wouldn't have, that's a significant amount of labor that they helped us with.
I think we had Carl that works with us, gave some to some of the hazardous waste businesses that he works with up on Medtech Drive. A few of the larger businesses, Carl's reached out to them.
Yep.
We've reached out to the churches. All the churches have been contacted and they've been delivered to.
Some other departments, DPW, the poll workers that'll be going out. Those have been the poll workers for the voting. They've all been given test kits as well. So anywhere we can touch into the community, and we've pretty much exhausted that. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 cases left of that initial supply, an inventory that came in from the state. Now we do also have other cases that we would then be moving on, and those expire in February. So we feel confident should we, hopefully not, and again, in no way is this to be an alarming message, but Yarmouth Health Department is prepared to get kits out in a significant way, and we have the inventory to do that.
Because now
on the, may have been from Chan, from the health, I guess, school. It may have been at BU. I'm not sure. I don't think it was at Harvard. Saying, and this was in the Cape Cod Times, about the need to have frequent at-home testing more than what most of us have been doing. That you need like 3 negative tests to be sure that you're really not infected. So if had any, even if you're not symptomatic, but you've perhaps been exposed to someone who is sick, you should really get 3 tests. You do it at home, but like each day for 3 days to really rule out that you're not carrying the virus. That took me by surprise.
Yeah, they're asking you to do it 24, 48 hours in between, which is kind of interesting because if you are asymptomatic and carrying it, if you're not taking your precautions, thinking you're negative, you're out in the community and nobody's really isolating for 48 hours while they take another test or waiting to take 3 tests.
Right.
Each kit contains 2 tests.
Right.
And people that come in, many times we give them 2 or 3 kits because we still have hundreds left.
Yeah.
Okay. The farmer's market that Jay's been at, we've probably been giving out 200 every Thursday.
Sure. And Mr. Chairman, anecdotally, that's exactly what, the residents are saying. They'll take 2 or 3 and they'll say, we're testing multiple times in a week.
Yeah.
The couple of individuals, families, they might be taking 2 and 3, sometimes 4 if they have little ones. With school and summer camps and parties, they're testing on a regular basis, which is terrific. But none of those numbers will show up on our positivity. So it's admittedly underreported, what we have right now.
But we've had good feedback when we bring them to the libraries, the staff and the church's staff. And it's a great conversation. We have our own tent over at Farmers Market. We put up our banner, Health Department protecting, and the conversations that we have, as Jay mentions, people have visitors coming or they're going to go somewhere, that we have plenty of test kits available.
Yep. But a great response.
So it's safe to say if somebody in town needed or wanted a test kit, we would get them one.
By all means.
They can come right in. They're in the health department. We have them on the counter and they're right upstairs in the front doors. If anybody comes in upstairs to go get a dog license, shellfish license, pay a bill, do anything, they're right on the front table that we make sure there's 50 up there every day.
Yeah. And we're going, interestingly enough, we're probably going through, again, between 40 and 50 a day up at that.
Especially with school starting back
Right.
up, I think.
They're coming in and taking them,
Yeah.
which is exactly what we want.
Which is what we want.
We don't want them in our conference room,
Absolutely.
closet. We want them in people's homes. So that's happening. Erica, is there anything left there? And this is the mask advisory, still in place. We have that posted here at the town hall. It's at the libraries. It's in a number of different public buildings.
You make the point that the CDC did loosen up a lot of their requirements. However, they did not change the requirement or the suggested need to wear a mask in public in closed places. That was not changed. If you are in a high-risk area, which is running at 10%, we are.
Right.
So my feeling is we should just maintain what we've done.
And I think the board had put in place at the time that if it drops below, and if I'm using my memory here, 5%.
right.
I believe that's, Mary, is that right? Yeah, 5%.
Yes,
So
correct.
we still have a little ways to go, and hopefully we'll reach that sooner than later. But the mask advisory stays in place. It's on here at the town hall. And when we're at meetings and we're in close proximity, that's the protocol that we're following.
You're saying if the population continues to grow, we'll hit 5% at some point. So
we can't for the life be figured out how our population has grown, but it has. So
Some people leave Provincetown. Didn't they have
welcome
too
our-
many people?
our
Weren't
new
they-
neighbors.
didn't they have a lot of people?
I don't know, whatever people are doing at home.
is there
Anyway,
any- is there
I
anything-
know the electric signs are getting used right now. One for the new signal on Station Ave, right? That's going up, and the other is for the
They're the school sign. They're for school. The
They
Station
are.
Ave school, signs for the school.
one
There's-
is for watering. I know at the fire department.
Water
they have one of those signs. Is there
right.
anything- I was thinking that I just marked it. It's remarkable. It's only 15% for the booster here, the second booster that you had. Only 15%. Maybe when we can claim a sign, maybe we can use it.
We have our dedicated health department sign across from town hall
Right.
that says boosted, boosters are recommended.
Okay, good. I
So-
come through the other way. I didn't
No,
see it.
so
Good.
it's still up there. We've had a couple calls, want to know if we're going to take it down because COVID's over. We're saying no, people still need to get a booster shot is our recommendation.
Yeah.
So that will continue over there now. You can loop out that way tonight and take a look.
Got it.
Yeah, in no way is this to be alarming, and certainly be hopeful that another variant does not show up. But you do need to be diligent in protection, and that's exactly the service that we're trying to provide. Go ahead, Eric. You can push this through.
No, but as Jake, you can see the last chart right there on, the 18 that we're running on August 11th. Everybody's outside, it's kind of leveled off. Obviously the concern is when everybody starts going back inside in October, will that change? So.
Okay.
We're good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so approval of the minutes. I did the last bit of my preparation reading here, and I didn't have it in the packet.
Those minutes haven't been completed yet.
Okay, let's go to 14, new and old business. Everything I had.
Next meeting will be Monday, September 19th.
Okay, double check
First
that.
Monday, we'll have a holiday, so the room wasn't available to the second one, so we'll go back to our third usual meeting on the 19th. We have
Okay,
one septic repair coming in. Buttercup, interesting for a raise and replace. They're high enough above groundwater, but there's some sideline issues. So we'll see that one come in. And we'll follow up with a couple items from tonight.
Yeah, the state fine, the $1,000 state fine.
Yeah, we'll get you some information on that. There's more to that story.
I figured there
sensed
was.
that.
Yeah, I sensed that as well.
The only issue I had is just something we haven't mentioned here at all was just the outbreak of monkeypox.
Jay's got
and
that.
Just,
Want me to get that?
just,
It's on your desk, I think.
is there, it's becoming more and more significant. Every day I look in the paper, what's happening. So.
Yeah, we get information from DPH
Okay.
that comes in the office. Basically just saying take proactive measures,
Sure.
which would be, stay away from crowds. They are concerned that it's skin to skin contact. They're not sure if it might spread from there. Right now, we do not have any cases within Yarmouth. And I don't know if we even have any cases on the Cape yet. They don't break it out like they do the COVID cases.
Okay.
They haven't done that yet. They've just basically said how many are in Massachusetts. They haven't broken it down by county or by town. Excuse me.
Bless you.
They keep changing the medication though, the vaccine requirements because of the shortage of vaccine and now the method of administering has changed. So it's complicated for people who are in a high-risk area are treating high-risk patients.
Yeah.
Or I guess even people with it.
Yeah, initially it was just get one dose, and now what has happened is they're administering it in the skin
Subdermal, yeah.
and not into subcutaneous tissue. And that's tricky. A lot of people haven't given that kind of injection before. And that's to give, I think, like 20% of what a normal dose would be. And this is, I don't know how much work has been done on whether it's going to work. I don't know. And there are only,
Right.
I think, 14 places in the state that are administering the vaccine. So we're way behind on this.
One of those vaccine locations are in Provincetown.
Right.
So if anybody had any questions to our office, we do recommend them. They can check with the, I think we have that phone number and Department of Public Health through their trailer at Provincetown.
Great. Okay. Any
It
other new?
covers what we had talked about pretty much, you think?
I think so. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I think there was a vaccine shortage, so they broke it. It's 1/5 the original. The
Yeah.
original dose, 1/5. But there does, what Bruce did say, they seem to have strengthened the concern of skin to skin now, even maybe material that you can rub against. So there's a little heightened precautions that are being taken rather than when this first broke, say 3 weeks ago now, it had been a little different. So it's I think there's more to come on this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, there's usually a rash associated with it. So,
Yeah, it's quite a remarkable one. You think if you go look at what smallpox used to look like, it's quite similar. And people getting hospitalized because the amount of pain the rash is causing. That's how awful it is. Anything else in new or old business? Okay, number 15, anyone want to address that issue then?
I move we adjourn. My computer's off.
Second.
That's the next one.
Here a second, okay. And any discussion? Good, none? All in favor? Mary, you got to raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Me, Deborah,
Aye.
okay, this meeting is over.
Good to see you back, Deb.